This is where the fun begins.
And I've always leaned towards if we're going to create something, we should check and see if it existed already to the fans, because it has way more value if we bring that in. And
Right.
it's like, why would I just replace it with something new? So if we're going to do an admiral, if we're going to do a big military leader, yeah, I could create a new guy, sure. But what about Thrawn? Thrawn is great. Thrawn is a character we all know. Thrawn has a lot of credibility. So then you ask yourself, is it right to use him? And can we use him in a way that's similar to the books? Or are we using him and it's going to go completely into left field? And there have been times when we wanted to use things from the EU, and I was like, yeah, but we can't use it that way, so why? I don't want to use it and change it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to use it and make it something completely different. That's rude.
Are you sure? So be it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to CAF Chat. Welcome to my channel, O.G.Starwars. I am your host, Alora, and I'm so happy to be here with you. And this is a special CAF Chat. Since Thursday, I was unavailable, and I don't necessarily like canceling our CAF Chat, so why not make it for Saturday? And we could hang out Saturday morning, talk about Star Wars news, and all of that fun stuff. So, first of all, what's in your mug? What are you enjoying this morning, afternoon, or evening? What's in your cup? So let's go ahead and start greeting everybody in the chat. And today we are going to talk about Star Wars lore, probably behind the scenes stuff. Like, is Star Wars about good versus evil? Because there's a lot of people who are misunderstanding what Star Wars, the foundation of Star Wars is, and its mythologies. And then we'll get into other things like cringe factor, book of the week, and yeah, so just a typical cat chat. No Asherad Het. That's going to be for next week, for this coming Thursday. So stay tuned for that. So we're building towards now Legacy Comics, where Asherad Het is now Darth Crate. So that's a good one. You know, I should have turned on my lights in here. It's kind of dark. Damn it. I didn't realize that. Yeah, so first of all, if you're joining us, hit that like button. Let all your social media platforms know we're live by sharing out the stream, and become a member if you can afford to, if you want to contribute to the channel that way. If not, subscribing is also great. If you're catching the replay, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Let me know you're here catching the replay by leaving a comment, at least one. And yeah, so I can know that you came here and enjoyed the show afterwards. So yeah, so I'm sporting my classic mug here. And so Asajj Ventress, the true one. And then we had Gordon here waiting at 8:55 and waiting for a whole 45 minutes, not realizing that I decided to make it past the hour, half past the hour, instead of at the hour at 9. I decided to push it to 9:30 just so that I can sleep a little bit on a Saturday morning, and then get up and just mosey around and make my coffee and all that stuff. So thank you for hanging out and waiting. Yes, today is going to be a great day. Yeah, here for the early bird special. So yeah, so he wakey wakey. So yeah, he was here on his own here waiting, and then Maz Mazer Masquerade Masquerade. I'm pretty sure I said that right. I apologize if I'm not. I did not. Good morning, OG and peeps. How are you doing? Good morning to you. And let's see here. And I feel like the crowd's going to be a little bit different today. Maybe not as few because this is a Saturday schedule. So we'll see what happens here. But whoever comes to hang out right now, that's awesome. You guys are amazing. So Conroy is here. I made it on time somehow. Yes, you did. And let's see here. And then we have the the OT Asterides. First time watching here. The OT. Okay. How nice to see you. I don't think, yeah, your first time here. So, yeah. Let's see here. And then, hello there, OG in chat. Hello, Anakin Batsy. How are you doing? And then I am Dave Filoni. And let's see who else is popping in here. We have Beaumont. How are you doing? And Melissa Lord. Hey, what's up, darling? One of our channel members is here. And thank you so much. Astartes. I'm sorry. It's like still morning. Astartes. All right. Yes. All right. So many of you guys may have seen a lot of things going on if you're on Twitter, social media, about like how people are responding to the latest installment of Disney Star Wars, and that is Acolyte. So we are going to talk a little bit about that, but I want to go more into lore kind of stuff. And I just want to point out some things. And first of all, like I always say, I'm going to go turn the light on here. I hate that the light is bad. I have dark lighting here. So bear with me. I'm going to just walk across the room. That's all. That's all. We're also going to get into something Filoni, an interview Filoni had, and him comparing himself, him and George, to Anakin and Obi-Wan. So that's going to be fun. So we'll be doing that as well. So a lot of stuff going on here, not necessarily not too full-blown into the lore. But what I want to say here is that when you're comparing a Disney show, book, movie, and this is Lucasfilm Star Wars, do a little bit of research. So when you are talking about like oh well, it was never done before or whatever, make sure you have everything covered. And even if it is and has been done before, make sure that you have your ducks aligned, because then you'll also get people who sit on the fence and go and say, I'm going to piss off EU people because blah, blah, blah. They're not making that stance because, that shares that they are shilling for Disney in that instance to defame the EU. But then you have the Disney shills who will come in and attack as well. So make sure you get your story straight and everything aligned. And so I'm leading up to this point here. So I'm going to pull up something very important because I shared this because people were saying that, oh, there was no fires in space, and then some are saying, well, there was no fires that happened to look like campfires in space. And I get what they're trying to get. And then so the defense was George did everything willy-nilly. So if he said that fire was in space, that's because he's saying there's air in space. Like he does everything willy-nilly. So if there's air in space, blah, 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 blah kind of deal. So that kind of thing. Let me see here. Nope, that's a tab. I need the tab. So let me see. So And they're sharing, and then they shared an installment from Star Wars Archives episode 1. I believe it was episode 1 from what I got. Yeah. And so Star Wars Archives episode 1 through 3, that book. And they're saying, because George, and this is it right here, because George says there's air in outer space when I want it, laughs, because he's joking right here. This is all joking. He's talking about things he's joking about. George has this crazy, dry sense of humor. He likes to, goat people and stuff like that. They're saying, oh, well, because George says there is air in space when I want it, that is why everything went down the way they did. So they were using that to defend their point. And I was like, he's joking there. That he's joking. He doesn't mean all that. This isn't about fire in space. And so Paul Duncan came in with with this confirming what I was saying. And at first he says, air in outer space. When George Lucas was making Star Wars, he paid attention to the way the ships moved in space. And I was even saying that he's talking about the Falcon. This is not talking about air in space for fires. This is strictly about the Falcon. And the Millennium Falcon would look better to viewers if it drifted around corners. And this was also in tune or regarding Star Wars Explained, using this quote to say there was fire in space that George, so he uses as evidence to support what was going on in the Acolyte and all this other stuff. And so he uses out of context. And so I made a video saying that he misinterpreted this, and Paul Duncan comes in and basically backs me up in a sense. So this is one quote from the Star Wars Archives. So this is the later one. Sorry, I was wrong. And then George is not saying there is air in outer space. He is saying that the movement of the Falcon should emulate that, so that the movement is distinctive compared to the other ships. Now imagine that. He wants the Falcon to kind of stand out a little bit in how it moves, right? And so George is looking for the subtle difference in storytelling that the viewers will pick up subconsciously. So this rebutted not only Star Wars Explained in his take, but also and then it was in tandem with what I was saying even here on Twitter and my video against countering Star Wars Explained. Yeah, so there's this right here. So George Lucas doesn't do things just willy-nilly. He adheres to the rules that he makes. I'm still looking for the quote. I've seen it. I forget who. I think maybe I didn't ask him yet. I think he shared it. But he talks about physics and how he still uses physics to make it believable. So he pushes the envelope a little bit for certain things. Right? And so he makes those rules in world. But then he also still considers physics and stuff like that. So so that's what happened. I wanted to talk about this a little bit this last Thursday, but again, I had other prior commitments to take care of. Let's see here. I want to make myself down here. There we go. How about this? Oh, wait, this one. Is it bigger? There we go. All right. It's not like George Lucas was terribly dismissive of the expanded universe RC canon. He had a hand in them, but he usually left the devices to the authors. They had rules to set by. So there's a lot of rules. They couldn't do anything willy-nilly as well. Let's see here. Now I've been hearing from people saying Star Wars was never great. Only the OT was Star Wars. Yeah, that's something that they're revisiting again too. It's all in defense of the current show. I wonder who is courting to him. And that's funny and ironic. Filoni compared himself to Lucas, to Obi-Wan and Anakin. Anakin betrayed Obi-Wan. Correct. We'll get into that. I can't wait to get into that. We'll break that shit down. So Maz says, it's not like George Lucas was terribly dismissive. I already read that one. There we go. Sometimes it's hard to avoid being black-pilled even when sticking to the old stuff when you see what they're currently doing to the franchise. And Star Wars Explained. Yeah, so I did a video on that. I made a short. I believe I did a short too. So thank the maker for Paul Duncan. Yeah. So that he came in with the kill, the final, the final nail in the stupid conversation. Mind you, yes, there was fire in space, and I countered both sides basically. I went and countered both sides because both sides were arguing about fire in space. And I get what they were saying. One side was saying about how it looked like a campfire and how it shouldn't look that way because there's no gravity and all this other stuff. I get that. And then they're saying, oh, well, then the other side was saying, oh, well, there was always fire in space. Look at this. And they're showing like one of the Star Destroyers with like the Executor before it collapsed into the Death Star with the fire coming out. And you could see the fire streamlining as like you could see like when the gravity and the oxygen and all that was exiting. So I countered both sides with some logic basically, talking about how fire can be in space and how it would look, how it would act in space. So, and the side that was like, yeah, there was still fire in space, but blah, 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 blah. It just shouldn't be acting this way. Really didn't mind, but the Disney Shills did. So that was crazy in itself. You can give them logic and still kind of agree with them within that logic. Just show, oh, well, it still occurs in space, but it doesn't act in that manner. They still lose their shits. They still fucking lose their shits. It's so fucking funny. It is crazy. Yeah. So, and then, yeah, Andrew, thank you again. Smash the like. And then Sexplain got a shout out on FNT. Really? When did he get a shout out? Just recently? That's weird. Hey Gordon. Yes, hey Gordon. I know you guys are saying hello to each other. I don't know where's my mod. Soul Assassin, I hope you're doing great. I know it's a Saturday, so you probably have things to do. That's fine. Yeah, so I just want to touch bases with this. That this was episode archives 4 through 6. Sorry, I said it was 1 through 3, but it was 4 through 6. And he came in and it's like, you know what? You guys are misreading this. He's not saying that fire. That he's talking about how he wanted the Falcon to move distinctively different. Because that's like, one of the main ships that, is the focus of when it comes to the heroes, right? The Falcon. The Falcon. So let's see here. The Odie says, I think there were on about him visiting Dave Filoni. So, and I actually got blocked by Soy Wars Explained for following Geeks and Gamers. And then they gave him a shout out. Hey, the shout out wasn't in a good way. Okay, yeah, I don't really watch FNT, so I was like, what the hell is going on? Did they give him a shout out? What? Yeah, so I was in totally disbelief because that guy is a total yeah. I was like, that should not have been like in good faith, like in good, like in camaraderie and stuff like that. That was weird. That would be weird. So yeah, thank you for clarifying, Raging, because I was like, what? All right, and hello, Raging Rhino. How are you doing? And Andres is here. Disney cultivated a revisionist behavior, misinterpreting everything for the sake of validating stupid and irrelevant opinions. And you are seeing that a lot. And I'm going to pull up another thing here. So many of you guys probably know that Star Wars, basically the foundation is good versus evil. Archives, the episode 3 through 4, George talks about. It's about a story about good versus evil that kids and the kids at heart can understand and relate to. It's that type of story. He wanted to give a moral story, in a sense, with mythos and timeless storytelling for all ages, basically. Yes, I'm going to say all ages. Yeah, he's always said 12 years old, but he also said for all ages or kids at heart. There's instances of that. So we're not going to fully get into, oh, it's only for kids. No. So he also said the kid at heart. So, that's another thing that these shills like to try to put on, fans like us. Oh, well, why are you talking about? George always said it was a kid, for the kids, for the 12-year-olds and, all that crap. So he the basic foundation through the mythologies. And when you look back at mythologies, and his biggest hero, his biggest mentor was Joseph Campbell. So when you look at the mythologies, they all have that moral construct of good versus evil in some way, shape, or form. And that is the direction George was taking Star Wars. And that was also, included in foundations of the EU. People argue, well, there's gray areas. Well, there's people who are conflicted, yes. But when you look at the greater picture behind that person, they're either at the time good or evil. So Han, for example, and I probably will make you guys like, what the hell are you talking about? Han was selfish. Han was selfish in the beginning of the OT. George explains selfishness is evil. It's dark. So he had that. It wasn't gray. He was not gray. He was being selfish. So he was being, in a sense, a bit evil because he was not contributing to the bigger good. Yeah, we seen him conflicted with that because he had that push and pull towards the light side, towards helping, towards selfishness, or being less selfish. And we seen that evolve. We seen him evolve from selfishness to selflessness, if you want to say that, because he's all worried. He was being selfish with his time. He was being selfish with how he got his money and why he helped save Leia for the money. So I'm applying George Lucas, what he talks about, like evil and dark side, selfish, greed, all of that. Now, was he evil or dark side to the point where he wants to murder people? No, that's not what I'm saying. But we did see his arc. He went from selfish to selflessness, and from worrying about only himself to finding the love and family, and and contributing to the greater good. So that's one example through a character, not just the foundation of the story, but through a character of going from being bad, of like just thinking about yourself, to then opening up to others, allowing them in, allowing yourself to be a part of the greater good, and and all that. So that's one of an example through a character about the foundation of. And George is really good about giving these type of small hero arcs to these characters. Lando too. Even though he was trying to protect Cloud City, he had conflict, yes. So we see him going from that to redeeming himself and showing the bigger picture that sometimes there's no good way of coming out of this bad situation. But then again, he still stepped up and helped out. So his story is different than Han's. His arc is different than Han's. I think it's a little complicated because of Cloud City and trying to protect, people on Cloud City. So was that selfish? No. But he was still being immoral with giving up friends to protect everybody. So, could there have been a better way? Maybe, maybe not. So you get these little contrasts, and you get these little bit of I won't say complicated story, but deeper nuances or whatever to these characters that contribute to their arc, from going from bad decisions, being bad decisions, to being good decisions too as well. And showing that sometimes there's no easy way out, and that's fine. There's no easy way out, and that's fine. So with that being said, I'm going to pull up another article that I want to look at with good versus evil. So good versus evil. Many of you guys probably realize, hi Darmit, how you doing? Diddley Squat is here as well. Let's see here. Han didn't have evil intents. Well, that's the thing. He doesn't. Selfishness is not evil intent in a sense. Like I said, he's not comparing. He's not setting to murder or hurt. Selfish. He is only thinking of himself. That's still bad. So yeah, that's still bad. Does selfishness add to the dark side of the force overall? It's a contribute to it. So it's like going down the path. It's going down the path. There's ways of, coming out of that if you don't go too far in. And when I was with Justin, our Star Wars Marvel purist, on his channel, we finished up the Kenobi book. And there's an example of that because Obi-Wan's telling Jabe, Annaline's son, to turn back now that he's not far into that path of going dark. So, that, and, so you could say selfishness is probably one of the quote unquote early stages if you really want to get into the dynamics of all that. You're having hate sugar water. Love coffee, hate sugar water. I would say that it also is good demonstration of there's always a way back, even when all seems lost, especially with Darth Vader. Yeah, Darth Vader is the exception to the rule. So that he's the exception to the rule. Obi-Wan and Yoda really thought that he was lost. And they have very good reasons for that. Han's behavior was largely a defense mechanism. Yeah, bro. He's thinking of himself. He's being selfish and stuff like that. And you see his arc change to selfishness to selflessness. And a good way, a book that you probably want to, if you want to study further into that, is the Star Wars mythologies. Is it? Well, I got the title wrong in a little bit. It's down in my bookshelf. But it's Star Wars, The Magic of Myth. Whoops. The Magic of Myth. That's the one. The Magic of Myth. And it covers that whole story of Han's arc. Gordon says there's are levels of evil. The most basic form of evil is knowing something is wrong, but doing it anyways. Yeah. Like in a sense, Han wanting to leave the rebellion in their dire need. Yeah. And yeah, he's worried about paying off Jabba. Sure. But that's not going anywhere right now. He's in a position where Jabba wouldn't be able to get to him either if he contributes to the rebellion. So that's one of them. Yeah. What I meant was just to enforce the fact that he wasn't evil per se, just his lifestyle required to be that way, the way he was. And that's the thing, that when you're a smuggler and you work for someone that is evil, you are contributing to that. So I'm not saying guilty by association. You're making those decisions yourself. So that's not in any way a guilty by association. So let me pull this up. You guys are amazing. I have 15 beautiful souls here. You guys are awesome for joining me here. And so we're going to get into the mythologies of Star Wars in a sense, with good versus evil and what George says about it. It's not everything that he said in the quote. I didn't pull out the quote from the archives about good versus evil, but I think this gets to the point. I think this will get to the point in a sense, because a lot of people are now saying that there is no good versus evil in Star Wars. There is no good versus evil in Star Wars. So let me see here. Okay. Okay, let's see here. So this is a big interview with, not a big, but this is the transcripts with Bill Moyer and George Lucas. So that interview, I've watched the video. This is a short clip. I don't want to play it. So this goes here. So here's the transcript. Let me go ahead and highlight that spot. I use that for a quote on Twitter just a few before we started. So George Lucas, what these films deal with is the fact that we all have good and evil inside of us, and that we can choose which way we want to balance, want the balance to go. So again, Han Solo was my example of that. Star Wars was made up of many themes. And we know that too. We can argue about the type of themes or debate or discuss, whatever you want to call it. It's just not a single theme. One is our relationship with our machines, which are fearful, but as also benign, and they're an extension of the human, not mean in themselves. The issue, so this is George talking, the issue of friendship and your obligations to your fellow man and to other people that are around you, again Han Solo, that we have control over so you have control over your destiny, that you have a destiny. So basically the destiny part, which we see that is that's a big theme interwoven throughout Star Wars, even into the EU. It's a big thing. It's mentioned a lot. And it began in, of course, the OT, that you have many paths to walk down, and you may have a great destiny. If you decide not to walk down the path, your life might not be as satisfying as if you wake up and listen to your inner feelings and realize what it is that you have particular talent for, and what contributions you can make to society. So he's comparing like destiny, and he's given us a glimpse of like how that could relate to us. Like, what are our talents and how are we contributing to our society within our talents? Myself, I'm an artist in so many different ways. And I love to teach the art of moving and how it can heal and help the body, help the mind, all of that. I am a painter. I am a dancer, not was. So I have those things here. And in many ways, I have contributed to, my greater community with those talents. So this is very interesting right here. So good versus evil is one of the themes, but it's one of the themes that he uses as a moral guide, so that we can relate to, and we can say, make those decisions, about life, and how we see those characters make decisions about their life and what's going on. So Bill Moyers says, the good guys were good guys and the bad guys were bad guys. You use color to suggest some of this philosophy. And again, Star Wars, the magic of myth goes into, and you can even look this up, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know, but like the color scheme that George uses for like the Empire and all that, addresses how they are bad guys, how they are sterile, how they enforce, all of that. It's very, very interesting if you want to get into the behind the scenes creation and what George was giving us when it comes to visuals. And he confirms this in a sense. George Lucas says, yeah, I use colors a lot in my films. I'm very conscious of the design of my films. So, and then he goes on to say, Tatooine is usually our home planet, and there isn't much there except a lot of brown sand and very, very clean place. A very, very clean place. So I don't know why he's saying Tatooine's a very clean place, because it's not. So then he goes on to say Death Star, the Empire has been painted black or white or gray. There's a lot of gray, but but it's colorless. The Emperor, I put in a splash of red. I mean, red is an aggressive color. So see how his mind goes to visuals to give you guys, all of us fans, a glimpse into like how this good versus evil and how it's seen and how you can recognize that. And that goes with the lightsabers too. We know in the mythology that Sith choose to use red blades to be distinctive from the Jedi. And no, they don't fucking bleed them out. George, of course, the blue turned green because of preference of recording and making sure you can see the lightsaber. So we have the blue and green and purple, basically movie ones that are Jedi, and then you have the red that are Sith. And red, again, another thing of an aggressive color. So that goes back to what he said here. So a lot of awesome themes here, and just to make you look visually distinctively between good versus evil. And when you look at Luke Skywalker's outfits from the beginning to the very end, so the beginning of the OT, when we see him, to at the end where he's celebrating their victory on Endor. He has these different outfits on, but they progress to different colors because he's changing. He is going through his character arc, his evolution of who he is, and he's wearing the black tunic because we do see a little conflict, because we do see him being manipulated by Sidious, by Vader, to try to turn him. And the pivotal moment through that is when Leia's life is threatened. And through that, he goes off with a lot of aggression towards Vader, which Vader wants to turn him. And then finally, when he realizes what he was doing and what is going on, is when we start, when he sticks up for himself and he's like, if I fight anymore in this manner, I'm going to go dark. So it's not like he's throwing his saber because that's what Jedis do. He's not giving in to the manipulation that they're imposing on him. And with that, we start seeing his tunic open with the white flap. So there's a lot of visuals there of like through Luke on his hero's journey and what's going on with him, even with his clothing. And I did share that as a video on my channel regarding Luke's clothing and how that was significant to his character arc. So very interesting stuff. Okay, OT, thank you for coming. And then from white to gray to black, but with the white on the inside. Correct. That was a good storytelling visual for George Lucas when it came to Luke Skywalker. That was friggin' amazing. And you see that a little bit with Anakin. He doesn't necessarily wear the traditional garbs of the Jedi robes. He's still wearing like a darker color, not black yet. And then as we see time go on, it gets darker and darker and darker until he is now in the suit. So there's that as well. Not as prevalent as or noticeable as Luke Skywalker's, but you see that with Anakin as well. Actually, no, I take that back. As a kid, I'm thinking about Anakin as a Jedi when he's in the Order. As a kid, he's wearing the lighter clothes. So I take that back. So the same type of visual. I'm sorry, I forgot all about the young Annie, 9-year-old Annie. So he's wearing, his garb from being a slave, living on Tatooine. It's lighter colors and stuff. And then when we see him in Attack of the Clones, it's a little bit darker, more browner in those hues. He's starting to wear a darker robe over some of his stuff, but you still see that it's still brown. And then when we get to Revenge of the Sith, it's all dark. There's a lot going on because, from Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith is when the Clone Wars started. So a lot has happened over those times that share how he's going dark. And another pivotal thing is him in Attack of the Clones murdering, killing, not murdering, I'm going to say killing the Tuscans, the Sand People, to avenge his mom. So that's one of the pivotal moments of him going dark. So very neat. If you're very interested in those type of visuals with what George is looking at, then that's something to watch out for. That's something to look further into. And I think that today's Star Wars, and again, it's a name only, but today's Star Wars, they're missing that. They're missing those visual components per character, like Luke, like Anakin, and stuff like that. So they're missing it. And Leia's another one. So Leia's clothing as she evolves from being this this leader who thinks she doesn't need anybody and blah blah blah. I'm not trying to put her down, and stuff, to softening into her womanhood, I guess you could say. The clothes change as well. So that's another one to look into as well. So very interesting stuff here. Very interesting. But my point of this here is about good versus evil, and how this is a theme that's woven throughout the movies, and then we see it within the rest of the media when George Lucas owned the company, when it was his company, when it was his franchise. And today we're seeing a lot of people saying this on Twitter, and this is the direction that Disney wants to take Star Wars, is is that it's gray, that Jedi are really evil. So they're flipping this coin, they're flipping it on its head to where Star Wars is not recognizable. And you see their fans following suit, forgetting about the foundation, because that's what Disney, Lucasfilm wants people to do, is forget about the initial foundation. They want you to think that they're honoring George, but George has confirmed that they haven't been honoring his lore. He's even said in Cannes or Canes or whatever it's called, when he received the award, that they don't understand Star Wars. And he's talking about Disney. Everybody who works in Disney Lucasfilm, they don't understand Star Wars, and that could be for for Filoni as well. Let me see what you guys are saying. Let's see here. There were other Jedi seen in the PT with dark robes as well. There are some dark robes, but not like dark as in what we see with Anakin and stuff. So there's a reason and a theme for that. Leia's journey was a mix of Luke and Vader, aesthetically from white to earthy colors. Correct. So she went from the sterile white of being a senator and being like in the system, I guess you could say, to coming into earthy colors, to grounding into her being and allowing herself to open up to relationships and stuff. So she was very guarded too. So very interesting stuff right there. Anakin's lightsaber hilt he uses to slaughter the Tuscans was very close to resembling the one he had as Vader. Yeah, didn't he lose his? He lost his saber. In Attack of the Clones. No, actually, yeah. Attack of about two times, I believe. Or no, one time, because Obi-Wan ended up catching the one when it fell in Coruscant. So yeah. So it's very interesting how that evolves too. It's like, pay attention, like have fun, watch these classic movies, Star Wars movies, and then, like what you're learning here, take notes and want to explore some more, because it's so friggin' fascinating. Maybe this is why I'm such a fucking Star Wars nerd, right? Because I get into all this shit and it's fascinating, and I want to share it with you guys, and I want to open you guys' eyes, further into these bits of nuances and how these stories were created, and what George's focus was, right? And and then take it and compare and contrast it to what Disney's doing. And you then will further see how they are so disconnected too. I have a clip I want to share with you with Hayden talking about Vader. You can DM me on, I think I know what you're talking about, but you can DM me on Twitter. You're on Twitter, right? Let's see here. Yep, it got destroyed when he got trapped in the assembly line. Yes. Because I almost was thinking it was when he dropped it in Coruscant when they're chasing the bounty hunter. Or the assassin, sorry. Ooh, excuse me. But Obi-Wan caught it. They're inside the cantina area. And he's like giving his saber back to Anakin. And that funny little bit that they do. Nope, you're not on Twitter. Okay. Let's see here. I thought so, but I had to ask. Let's see here. All right. And we're going to get into the article with Filoni talking about Lucas. But first, let me see if I can pull this up. Okay, stop talking. All right. Shut it. There we go. I want to share a video here. I don't think I want to play it all the way because it's a long video. Hold on there. I was thinking about that too, but give me a sec, okay? And let's see here. Obi-Wan's gonna kill me. Right. Yes. I know. Their banter is so amazing. But I wanted to share a video before we start getting into other aspects of talking about Obi-Wan and Anakin and what Filoni has to say and all that good stuff. Let me see here. Let's see here. This is my channel email. I'm not guaranteed I can answer it right away to share, but I think I know what video you're talking about. There's yeah, so I think I know what you're talking about, and then I could share on my community page on Twitter and here in YouTube. So thank you so much. You're amazing. Okay. So right now, you know, if there's something you don't care about Star Wars, the current show, Disney basically already set a already set out a campaign of if you don't like it, then you're ists and phobes kind of deal. And so these Disney shills are basically using that to say, oh, well, you don't like it, then you must be this and you must be that, which isn't true. And so we have a Star Wars fan who basically is sharing his opinion. So let's go ahead and watch that. And some of you guys might have seen it, maybe not. Hey, Mr. Dystopian, how are you doing? I see you. And so this guy right here, I went ahead and followed. And his name is Brave New World Comics. And so he's going to give his opinion here. And I thought I'd share some of this with you guys. I think it's very important to listen to, you know, counters to this setup campaign against fans who don't care for what Disney Star Wars is doing. He's very logical here, and he has some great points.
Okay, there has been a lot of Star Wars stuff in my timeline lately, and it seems to be surrounded around the Acolyte and fan reaction to the Acolytes and kind of Disney Star Wars in general. And I've been seeing a lot of, if you don't like the Acolyte and or you don't like Disney Star Wars, then you are a misogynistic, gatekeeping asshole. I'm here to kind of say, if that is your stance, you need to shut the fuck up. Like, seriously, just shut the fuck up. Star Wars today, if you like Disney Star Wars, great, awesome. Are there toxic fans in every fan base? Yes, there are. But just because I don't like what you fucking like does not make me a toxic, gatekeeping, misogynistic asshole. Have you read any of these? Have you? Have you heard of them? Do the names Kathy Tyers, Barbara McIntyre, Barbara Hambley, Vonda N. McIntyre, Rebecca Moesta, do any of those names mean anything to you? No? Have you heard of the character Mara Jade, Jaina Solo, Jedi Leia, Callista, Tenel Ka, Bria Theron? The list goes on of amazing, strong female protagonist characters that were created by female and male writers in the 1990s that are fucking amazing. Female writers trailblazed the Star Wars expanded universe in the 1990s. And for all of you, whether you're a man or a woman, gay, straight, whatever, Republican, Democrat, I don't give a fuck. But if you're sitting there telling people, unless they are actually misogynistic, gatekeeping assholes, but we're not all that way. And when you're calling me that in a generalized statement, it fucking pisses me off.
All right. So yes. So he has a great point here. You guys know me. I like to tease about stuff that's bad, right? That's everybody making light of the situation, right? But you know me. I like to, you know, talk about the Lord, how it hurts the lore, how it doesn't help, how off it is, how it doesn't sound like Star Wars or look like Star Wars or whatever. So I'm coming in with a constructive criticism based upon what I know about the lore. And then I'm pointing out, many of us are pointing out that Star Wars had some amazing women who have created some amazing lore and contributed to the greater continuity with their stories. And so to be told that we don't like women in Star Wars, whether it is authors or actresses, actors, whatever, or showrunners, then we're sexist or whatever. That's not true. And like there's so many amazing characters that were given to us that were female. So he's gonna go on.
Because I read all these. I read all of these. Check this shit out. The Truce at Bakura. You ever heard of it? By Kathy fucking Tyers. What year did this come out? Let's take a look. What fucking year? 1994. 1994 this came out. Kathy Tyers wrote the fucking Truce at Bakura, the first novel to take place immediately after Return of the Jedi. I read this at 10 years old and fucking loved it. Have you ever heard of this? Children of the fucking Jedi by Barbara Hambly? No, you haven't? Then fucking read it. It's amazing. Do you know who that character is? Oh, you probably don't. You should probably figure it out. Because if you read these, you might understand why older fans, man, woman, gay, straight, whatever, are fucking fed up with this Disney shit. It's not better. I tried watching Mandalorian. I tried watching Book of Boba Fett. I couldn't get through it because it's not good. It's not better. And if you like it, great, fine. But don't sit there and fucking blast people and call them terms and names just because they don't like what you like. Have you ever heard of this one? The Courtship of Princess Leia? Let's see when this one was early Dathomir. This gave us like the first look at Dathomir. 1994. I was 10 when I read this. I read a book at 10 years old as a man called The Courtship of Princess Leia. I didn't know what the fuck courtship meant. I had to look it up. It means wedding. At 10 years old, I read a fucking book about a wedding. And you want to call me a misogynistic gatekeeper because
So he points out, he's like, I was 10 years old and I read a basically a female-centric book about Leia and Han potentially getting married. And he's like, so what the fuck are you guys talking about, you Disney fucking shills? That's calling us misogynistic, sexist, or what have you? And I was 10 years old when I read this fucking shit in, 1994 or whatever, whenever it came out. And you're over here telling me, trying to say who I am because I don't like what is being produced through Disney Star Wars. See, these guys, these Disney shills are missing the fucking point. Because Disney Lucasfilm tossed the EU for a quote unquote clean slate, it seems like all these shills' memories and those who are defending Disney Star Wars that are quote unquote EU people got their memory wiped too. Isn't that weird? It's like they did a clean slate, quote unquote clean slate, and then all these people's fucking memories got wiped. It's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. All right, let's go on.
I couldn't get through the Acolyte and I don't like Rey. Shut the fuck up. Seriously, shut the fuck up and read a goddamn book. This is fucking awesome. This one's written by a man, Dave Wolverton, but it's still fucking good. Have you heard of The Crystal Star by Vonda N. McIntyre? No? Fucking read it. Read a book. Have you heard of The New Rebellion by fucking Christine Catherine Rush? A woman? Let's see when this came out. This one was fucking awesome. This is all about Leia getting injured and shit. 1996. I was 12. Read this book. This is an awesome Mon Mothma story. Awesome Leia story. Fucking read it. Read a goddamn book. If any of you people calling us gatekeepers, misogynistic assholes, just because we don't like what's out today, read any of this, maybe you would understand. If you don't know who Mara Jade is and you never read a Mara Jade book, shut the fuck up. And I'm not even talking about the other awesome shit written by men. Like, I'm sure you've read the Thrawn trilogy, but Shadows of the Empire, holy shit, fucking amazing. X-Wing Rogue Squadron, Yasani Isard is in this. One of the best fucking Star Wars villains ever, and she's a woman. Okay, so don't fucking sit there and tell me that I don't like this shit because it's made by women and stars women. I fucking grew up with women that made the Star Wars universe, and it was awesome. And you should be pissed off that Kathleen Kennedy and the Star Wars executives today have swept the works of these women under the rug because they don't want to fucking pay them royalties. Do your goddamn homework, go outside, touch some grass, and read a fucking book. May the force be with you.
And so, let me go ahead and pause that or turn that off. And so he got a lot of people, Disney shills, fucking pissed off because he spoke some raw truth here. He spoke facts. And I'm giggling at Crystal Star because that's one of the least favorite books in the Star Wars fandom, but I get his point about a female author. So when you go through the comments of this and how people are sharing this, he pissed these Disney fans off. He pissed them off. And so I quote retweeted this and I put this or something like that, or truth. And someone's like, "Are you sure you want to associate with him?" or something like that. And so these, they came over onto my quote retweet and started talking shit as well, some of them. And I think it's quite funny because if these guys just sit down and listen and realize that there was diversity in Star Wars pre-Disney, then they are safe. That, like, it's okay. But because they're spewing this narrative of there never was, basically saying like George was sexist and racist and phobes. Basically, that's what they're saying, that George cared less about having diversity when in fact he created the most diverse franchise that you could possibly ever see. Maybe there's a couple more out there. I'm not trying to say he created in that he was the trendsetter, but what I'm saying is that he created one of the most diverse franchises in that we know in existence. And he forgot about Dan Duracima for Legacy and Republic Comics, but I get his point. She was friggin' amazing with her art and her storytelling as well. Her and John were an awesome team. And so these guys are so fucking into their head and their narrative that they're failing to see the greater picture, these Disney Star Wars fans. And so he hit the nail on the head with this, and that hurt their asses so damn hard. It is hilarious. So I'm going to share this in the link here in the comments, so that you guys, if you're on Twitter or if you want the video, then you can access it, because this is epic. It's amazing, and I highly recommend it. So let me go ahead and pull this up for you. So let's see your copy link. It's worth your time. It's worth your time. Let's see here. All right. I like his response to this already. So let's see here. Okay. Yeah, this guy is spitting the truth. I want to try to come up to where I last left off. Let me see here. They use ad hominems. Yes, they do. Let me see here. All right. Okay, let's see here. All right, let's see here. All right. Again, hello. He gets better every minute. Yes, he does. He just went off the hook. And you could tell this was him. There's no script here. He was being very, very honest and to the fucking point, right? I had to look it up. So, for the character that he's talking about, yeah. And then Matthew says the prequels era had the best games and books and comics. Full stop. I might be more favorable to the OT, but the PT was handled better. Yeah. By time they got to open up, the authors were opened up for the PT to start contributing to the lore. George was very, very hands-on, even with the EU. So we like that era, because that was George's era. That's where he's like, that's mine. Don't touch it until I say you can. And so with that, there was a greater synergy of George Lucas and the authors in the history of Star Wars than there was like pre-Return of the Jedi, which George did contribute, but like the PT, you can really tell that he had his hand in all the areas so that they made sense to the movies. Like maybe, from how Star Wars began with the Marvel comics and how their continuity wasn't fully intact then, and how they started growing and realizing that fans care about continuity, and they started tying everything together and cleaning things up. I think George took the lessons of the earlier development post Return of the Jedi and and use those lessons for the PT. That's how I see that. So yeah, that's how I see that. Dead. Yes, I agree. So I was like, I gotta share this with my guys here on CAF Chat, because some of you guys I know don't have Twitter. So who is this guy? Yeah. So I shared the link. Feel free to copy paste it, save it, what have you. Dave Overton invented the Night Witches, and Disney fans think David did. Yeah, Filoni did. I know. Me and Tim had corrected a Disney Star Wars associate for making it sound like Dave Filoni did make it did invent them. And so that was like a couple of years back. So that was amazing, because they switched the verbiage on that and stuff like that. They corrected themselves. Andres says they use an ad hominem. Yeah, I said that earlier. And let's see here. Bad shows at that. And Ma says, one day I'm going to get TCW tie-ins just to screw with Filoni Clone Wars statics. Yeah. Let's see here. This guy is spitting the truth. Yes, he is. Notice how the conversation went from the EU inconsistent to canon doesn't matter in Star Wars with the Shills. Correct. That's another pattern there. So thank you for pointing that out. They still use it's inconsistent, but now it's like the canon doesn't matter. And they're saying that because canon doesn't matter because Star Wars under Disney is screwed up. Okay. So apparently Kennedy Film Stands can't even read books for the continuity because even that group can't keep track of timelines. And it's only one fucking timeline, really. AC Crispin, yes. And I wish he would have shared that. AC Crispin, the first two handbooks are awesome. I kind of didn't like the third one, but the first two good as Brian Daly, if not better. Okay. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their favorite, and least favorite in a trilogy. Yeah, let's see here. Jack of all casuals, what's up? I hear no lies. I know. Thank you for being a channel member. That is the truth. The stands cannot handle it. I agree. You guys were on fire over this. It was an amazing video, and he got so much hate over it from the Disney Star Wars fans. But you know what? You know what they say, truth hurts, or facts don't care about your feeling. And he proved that. What is his Twitter again? Good stuff. I shared his link there. So I really like the audio abridgment for those Han books as well. Let's see here. And it's kind of a foil, though. If Shills talk shit about that book, we can then call them sexist. Yeah, you could throw their same tactics back at them. Think about that. Use their tactics against them. They fucking hate it. So I mean, what they say, treat people as you want to be treated, right? In a sense. So if they're coming in and attacking you, you have every right to defend yourself. And you also have every right to just block or just ignore and let them be. Your time is valuable. Let's see here. Too bad he kept talking the Lord's name in vain. Oh. I retweeted immediately and posted the YT and Discords. I want to associate. Right. The Star Wars radio drama is excellent. George was genius for selling Star Wars to radio for $1. Yeah, he allowed so much to happen so that people can get Star Wars. So he was brilliant on that type of marketing stuff. And that doesn't mean it devalues it. And the EU being handled by licensing doesn't mean it's lesser canon. It just, that's where it's taken care of, and the continuity is being taken care of and stuff. Pray for him. Yeah. And again, feel free to copy, paste, share, like, all that. Let's see here. And Davish, how are you doing? The Shills use racist, sexist, homophobe, etc. because they have no real argument. No, they don't. They don't. Melissa says, we need more people to tell the truth like this guy. Disney is trash. I agree. And I think everybody else does. Let me see here. Wait a minute. I got to Brave New World Comics in LA. Laugh out loud. let's see here. Original trilogy are phenomenal. No two ways about it, but not flawless. And no one's saying they are flawless because every single movie in history has a flaw or two or three. Prequel trilogy did its best to expand on the role of these casts, even though most do not get more screen time in characters. And let's see here. And those people even said that George movies are shit. Imagine shitting on the creator of the franchise they consume. Like, what the fuck? Yes, I see that all the damn time. And that's in some of my conversations on Twitter. Yeah, people who lie and say George had nothing to do with the EU. George worked with Alan Dean Foster on the novelization Splinter of the Mind's Eye. The story conference exists for Splinter, correct? All right, so now that we reviewed this, let's go ahead and get into cringe factor. But first, before we do, because I have to remember that we started at 9:30, so we're coming up on the hour from when we started. I am going to share what our CAF Chat book of the week is. So let me go ahead and pull that up, as well as get this portion rolling. So feel free to, as I share a little commercial here, feel free to go grab a drink, refill your drink, get a snack, what have you.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
I hate to say it, but it looks like
Story.
the item you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
Boom. It's the Disney Star Wars. So here you go. So Trusat Bekura, so a female artist, he did share this on his little rant. Kathy Tyers. This is basically hours after Endor. So the beginning of the book gets into how Luke Skywalker is feeling after being hit by Force lightning, going over about what happened on the Death Star. I mean, so it's really good connection to and conclusion, basically, and getting into the EU from Endor, the events of Endor. And so this is the CAF Chat book of the week. So how many of you guys read this book? Let me know. And what do you guys think? This was my first book. I did not start with, honestly, I did not start with the Thrawn trilogy. So, hey, Soul Assassin, you finally made it. Yes. All right. I figured that if you're going to show up, you'll be late, since this is a Saturday and I know people have things to do or people like to sleep in or whatever. So there you go. So Trusat Bekura audiobook 2 here's the link. So this is the book of the week. He says I got lost. Okay. You got lost. So right here is an excellent read. You can get it on Audible, but it is abridged. So you're missing some information. This goes into a love interest of Luke in here as well. And later on, the person that he has love interest does show up again later on in some other stories. And so there's these beautiful continuity ties in as well. So yeah, so I highly recommend this book. This is the book of the week by Kathy Tyers. And yeah. Very good. So I'll show you the back and stuff too. Let me switch here. Let me pull this up here. All right. So here's the back here. You got Obi-Wan. And of course, I have to peel this off, but I'm scared too because this is the foil, raised foil title, a classic hardcover. I always recommend the hardcovers. They are friggin' amazing. They are amazing. So Kathy Tyers, Truce at Bakura. It is the very first book installment of not published date wise, but in the chronological order wise of the EU post Return of the Jedi. I think that the one that Soul Assassin shared is on YouTube. Truce at Bakura, yeah, it's on YouTube. So that I believe is unabridged. So I highly recommend if you're busy and you can't sit and read, or you're reading the book, but then you get busy and you're cleaning around the house, to put the Audible on. But make sure it is audio and it's unabridged, so you get the full versions, because there's certain things that get missed when they make these novels abridged, that if you read the book, it doesn't make sense why. They try to keep it plot heavy, but sometimes little nuances contribute to the plot. Yeah, so there you go. The book of the week. Kathy Tyers. Let's see here what you guys are saying. Your camera is picture quality is bad, Alora. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. I might have to clean out my computer and stuff, or see what's going on with the camera, or I might just need a whole new installment of another camera. So that will be in the works. Let's see here. I'm not too worried about it though. I wonder if you could use a little stream to get that sticker off. Probably. I was thinking that. I just haven't attempted it. A bridge means that the story is plot heavy and there's some threads taken out of it. So it's just, so there's some things that are taken out of it that they feel that maybe doesn't really contribute to the story. You know, I don't know who makes these decisions. And so, but it's very plot heavy. It tries to stay to the point, but you're missing a lot of nuances. And they take out a lot of story out of there just to keep it plot heavy. If that makes sense. So let's see here. Let's go ahead. Oh, no, I don't want that one there. There we go. All right. So we're going to get into cringe factor now. Let me get out of here. And first one is going to be the article about Dave Filoni. So I didn't put that in my my tab. So let me pull that up. Make sure that I have that up. Remove. And all right. Let me see. Same. Yeah. Always try to avoid abridged audios. If attempting to read New Jedi Order, do not listen to the abridged. Might as well not read it, in my honest opinion. I agree. There's so much going on. It's like so heavy in the story. You need to read the whole thing, because then you're missing a lot. I agree. Some abridges are pretty good. It's like, oh, okay. But like storylines like New Jedi Order, like Star Wars Marvel Pure said, you read the whole thing. You want the whole fucking experience in that series. When is a book not a book? When it's abridged. Ha ha ha. It's abridged. Goodness. Gariel, yeah, was interesting and different love interest for Luke than usual, but they went their separate ways. Maybe if Luke wasn't starting out as a Jedi, he would have married her. Maybe she didn't like the Jedi, so there was that conflict there. That's why it never would probably have happened. She ended up marrying and having a kid, and so she's in another story. She shows up down the timeline, and her daughter does too, and she gets killed, and Mara and Luke kind of take responsibility for her. I think they bring her into the order or something like that. I don't remember. I have to revisit. It's been a long time. Yeah, it's been a long time. And says, interesting. I wonder why Luke gets the ladies' man moment from. Influence here. All right. Young Jedi Knight version of Truce at Bakura. There you go. Man, you're on it, or Soul Assassin, with the Star Wars stuff. The Bridge, the Dark Lord, Rise of Darth Vader book 2, terrible. Yes, there's so much missing in there. Just read the book. Just read it. It's so worth it. All right, so let's get into our next thing here. So you guys, again, if you didn't have time to get up, feel free to get up and grab something to drink and what have you. We are going to get in the Filoni story. So here we go.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave One, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
So uncivilized.
So this is about Dave Filoni. This is from Hollow Files. So Dave Filoni details consultations with George Lucas on modern Star Wars. So I did share this on Twitter. So if you follow me, you'll see the burn I gave this. Yeah, literally the burn I gave this. Like Anakin got burned up, I burned him. Sorry, I had to. So this is the beginning of our first cringe factor. We may not do the second one, but this one's the more important one. So I wanted to get into this so that we can tear into this shit. And this is by George and Josh Bate. So is George and Josh sharing the same last name? Who knows? And this came out yesterday. Today is the 15th, right? Yes, yesterday. So this is brand spanking new. So of course we've seen this picture before. This is now edited to have this orange hue over it and stuff. So, but we've seen this before. So what are you guys' opinion about Filoni versus George and what's going on and how he appeals to authority all the damn time? What do you guys think? Before we get started with this, what do you guys think? Soul Assassin says Filoni shields can't handle burn on that magnitude, right? Yes. You're too funny, Allure. Yeah, I friggin' I went full-fledged burn on that article. So we'll see. And how the hell is George still consulting with Star Wars? He's retired. And the thing is, they are doing damage control. Sum it up, they are doing damage control because of how, quote unquote, popular the Acolyte is, right? So we've seen images, if you're on social media and you're following this shit, of Filoni with headland pictures. And then there's an article, and I didn't want to get into that article because it's not worth my time, but there's an article and there's information about how Filoni states he was very supportive, or not him, but Headland said that Filoni was very supportive of her and that basically he was her mentor. He helped her with this show. He consulted her with this show. And before that article came out, people were defending Filoni like, this is not his shit. You know, she started doing this 4 years ago, so he didn't have the position he had now. So like the creative chief, I guess you can say, whatever that title is. And I'm like, no, he's always been the go-to guy because even Deborah Chow went to him for that mess, right? For that mess. So with that being said, that was damage, you know, that it was a bit of trying to do a bit of damage control. And this is a bit of damage control. But this does not tie in with what George said at Cannes or whatever the hell it's called, where he got his award. Basically, he summed it up like no one really gets the Force. Past and present, basically. He had to consult his staff when creating the field what the Force is about, and I get it because that's George's creation, right? I get that. But the future, they don't get it. Disney doesn't get it, and doesn't get the basic lore of Star Wars. Basically, that's what he said. And that also includes Filoni, because if it didn't, he would probably maybe suggest, maybe not, because we know George doesn't speak that way, but you would think that he would say, "Oh, well, I have faith in a couple of creatives who know my view." That's how I would see that. That's how I would word that. But I'm not trying to get in too much speculations on that because I can't speak for George. But other people think they can. But that's just them. Dave Filoni thinks he can. So, a chief creative officer, that's the title. Dave Filoni has firmly taken the reins of the galaxy far, far away in recent years. So, recent years. Okay. I think he's always had that privilege, I guess you can say, since he transitioned to Disney under Lucasfilm. That's me. And I think there will be many people who would think the same thing. But Filoni's first step into the galaxy were by the side of legendary George Lucas in crafting Star Wars: The Clone Wars over 15 years ago. So this right here, they make it sound like he worked side by side, that George was constantly on and in the floor at the table working on Clone Wars. And we already know there is an interview by Filoni saying that George stepped away, and it's on a podcast. And so this isn't true. So this person, these two guys, or whoever they are, they didn't do the research, but it's common for stuff like this nowadays. In recent interviews with Joshua Horowitz on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, Filoni spoke about, so I'm going to check that out now. Now I'm curious. You know me, I like to investigate. I like to investigate further to see what's really going on and what is really said, especially when these type of journalists, quote unquote journalists, don't do their homework and they are very hyperbolic about stuff. Filoni spoke about a number of topics, including the possibility of a R-rated Star Wars. Oh, okay. So R-rated Star Wars. How he went around translating Ahsoka to live action and favorite Star Wars moments. But the thing that stood out most to us from the interview was Filoni speaking about his relationship with George Lucas, including whether he still consults with Lucas on current Star Wars projects. So here we go. So we know George always appeals to authority here to make himself sound like he knows what he's doing and all this other stuff, when we also hear George say the opposite. George even stated in another interview from Cannes that he is retired, that he's not returning. He's retired. "I'm very respectful of his time," said Filoni. "He has a museum to finish. I've had a lot of mentoring from him. The answer is yes, I do every now and then, but it's got to be something really important for me to go and seek him out now." So what do you think is important for him to seek him out? And it's not even that often. That's what this is getting to. It has to be very important or really important, and it's not that often. Which means he hardly consults with him. He uses George as appeal to authority to pass some god-awful Star Wars lore. And I refuse to think that George gave his constructive criticism to what is going on in Star Wars today. I refuse to think that George is responsible for that stuff, especially after what he said about Disney not understanding Star Wars. And yet when I do, it feels very mythical to go before him to talk. Oh, so he's like, oh, he's the screw, blah, blah, blah. Filoni went on to compare his this is where I wanted, this is the important part. This is the important part. This is where my burn came from. So Filoni went on the compare his relation. Okay, the writing is horrible. Filoni went on the compare, or he should say, Filoni went on to compare his relationship with Lucas to the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan. So this right here alone, what do you guys think when you hear this? Filoni went on to compare his relationship with Lucas to the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin, or Anakin Obi-Wan. What do you guys think about this? So, Filoni is Anakin, and George is Obi-Wan. What happens in their relationship? So he goes on to explain, but I still don't think this is a good comparison. What say you? It was the greatest asset in Clone Wars, Filoni continued. It was the greatest confidence to know that he was there, to know that no matter what we did, he was the backstop. And it had to be a little bit like maybe Anakin felt that at times with Obi-Wan. Like Obi-Wan has got my back. I know he's there. And so then he's not there. You're flying around, or you're flying free down the trench, and you're figuring I am going to hit this exhaust port. I don't always know, but we are best. So I'm guessing he says we do our best. Another error. And we do it. We don't try, we do our best. So so what do you think about this? I got to see what you guys are saying in the chat. I got to see what you guys are saying in this chat over that. Only campfire stories, bruh. He got burned. So Anakin got burned in the biggest fucking campfire ever. When Anakin says, don't do it. So Filoni got burned in the biggest campfire ever while George is standing on the hill saying, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh my God. This is hilarious. So we are still on this Anakin blew up the Death Star. You would think that if Filoni is like in charge and he has say, even with what goes on is advertisements and stuff like that, that he would have not permitted that to be said. I don't know. Let's see here. I would compare Filoni to Cad Bane, considering that he somehow sold his own against the Jedi. But I would say that this is very much fitting that he's comparing himself as Anakin and George Obi-Wan. Why? Because we know that Filoni has won against George. Just like Anakin won against Obi-Wan. And who was left burning? Who was fucking left burning on that shit, right? Like right at the shore of the biggest campfire, basically the lava pit. Even Seth Green was more apprentice with his robot chicken parodies than Filoni. And then pull out the marshmallows. Yes, pull them out. Filoni has more estrogen than Headland. Probably. All he had to do was say Obi-Wan and Luke. I think it's perfect what he said here. I think it's perfect because it's telling. He has gone George, he has lied George, and now he uses him as his appeal to authority. Do I believe him with consulting George? Not fully. I think he is using this as damage control. I don't think he fully consults with George. Maybe once in a great while. Maybe to brag. I don't know. But there's something in me that doesn't trust him and think he lies about a lot of things. He has proven he's a liar. Let's see here. So when will George get struck down by Filoni? Who knows? Who knows? But George is like, I will become even more powerful, kind of deal. So campfire is greater than the chosen one. Let's see here. Even everything Lucas told him went in one ear and out the other. Yeah, George can consult him, but doesn't mean he's going to use it, right? And it's very evident. It's very evident. So let's go on this. I think this is where at the bottom. Yeah. Filoni was also asked whether there is an open door policy at Lucasfilm to welcome George Lucas, if he was ever to had an idea for a Star Wars story. And so this goes in, and again, George kind of debunks this at Cannes or whatever it's called. Would you say no? Filoni joked. Would you? What would you say? And even in the past, George even said that they pushed him out. But now, are we now assuming that because Filoni has a pivotal role in Lucasfilm that George is welcome? He could sit there, but does it mean that they're going to use his story and stuff? Probably not. George has said time and time again that all his ideas and stuff went out the door. So he goes on to say, what would you say? That's Filoni saying. That's Filoni joking. He can't come right in. He has the pass. Whatever he came up with would be different. He was always the most surprising in what he would do and how he would push things. Of course, it would be fucking different because he would be making Star Wars. Right? It'd be so different because Disney Star Wars isn't Star Wars. George would make something different because he would be keeping continuity with what he did, and he would be actually making fucking Star Wars. Not fucking Star Wars, but you know what I mean. So Filoni continued by reflecting on how seemingly minor decisions from George Lucas years ago still have emotional payoff to this day. Let's see what he says on this. Filoni remarked, even when it's a simple thing now to people like Ahsoka calling Anakin Sky Guy. Oh, this fucking thing. Yeah, of course he has to get into simping about Ahsoka in this conversation and it being shared this way. So it's all about Sky Guy and snips and stuff, and it's fucking bullshit. That's not meaningful, really. And it's not really emotional payoff. That would be like something pivotal in the lore. That's not fucking pivotal. It's just nicknames. That's not emotional. That's not pivotal. Nothing. And then he goes on to say, I will always think he has such a keen insight into those human things that makes his characters real, makes his galaxy or make his galaxy is real. So another flaw here. If that's how Filoni talks, then that's fucking bullshit. But anyways, yes, George knows his fucking stuff. Not like you, Filoni. Not like Disney, Lucasfilm. George knows his stuff, and you guys threw his stuff out. You guys are retconning the shit. Like, you guys are retconning good versus evil. We just talked about that. And here you are praising George knows his stuff and to make his characters real and his galaxy real. Okay, so if that's like you're praising him for that and that's the jewel of it, then why are you fucking retconning all his shit? You know, again, good versus evil. The mythologies, all of that. Why are you changing how people are viewing George Lucas's movies with all these retcons? Because you don't care. You don't care about how real, how fascinating, how different, how Star Wars lore is. You want to impose your own thing. Tear apart what came before. And that was evidence when the EU was tossed for a quote unquote a clean slate. And so Filoni continues, it's not just that starships look worn, that things look lived. He creates a lived-in world because the characters have experience and they're very knowledgeable of their world. They've lived their life. So he's repeating what George had said. So that's nothing new. But are these guys honoring? No. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. Let's see here. Even Seth Green. Oh, I read that one. Let me see here. I'm gonna scroll down. So when will George? Oh yeah. Let me see. Okay. Let's wait and see if he ever gets to redeem himself in his on his deathbed. He's got an agenda to push. Of course, he'll lie to further it. Correct. Yes, follow me on Twitter. The actual witches of Dathomir took husbands and had kids. Correct. Well, he said that Obi-Wan died in a diversion attempt to save Luke. Disney redid that with Last Jedi and Luke dying so Leia could escape. Great. This sacrifice meaningless because Leia died in 9. Ahsoka! Yes. Him and his shoehorn in waifu. Yeah. The Acolyte is now worse than the holiday special on RT. Yes. I'd rather watch that, even the worst parts of it. George is very much still alive and not disembodied spirit voice. I hope he lives a very long time and keeps telling how Disney doesn't get Star Wars. Right. that's the cherry on the cake, right? Or on the cupcake or the frosting, whatever. Dave likes him young. Ooh, gross. Ugh. Ask Barris. Oh, that is another bullshit thing. That is another bullshit thing. It is. It is. Let's see here. And I love that you guys are sharing emojis. I have to update them. I need to put some more up. So stay tuned. I still want to do my Tuscan Bob, even though he's not using that avatar anymore. We don't talk about de-aged Bino. Bears in name only. that's there you go. That's crazy. That's funny. Bino. That's what we'll call her. She's the Bino. They're truly the Sith, manipulative, evil people. Correct. Smash the like. Yes, we're going to start closing down here because I do have a training to go to about the body and its fascia for yoga and stuff. So learning how to help people move their bodies in healthy ways, especially when you experience tightness and stuff like that. So very important to me. So that's my other nerdy side on my yoga side. Maz said, I don't get it. We have the concept, we have most of the source materials, and yet some guy like Dave refuses to implement it proper because he thinks he thinks that appealing to authority gives him authority, I guess you can say, and gives him the right to change things. We went from the EU to Force Threads, Power of Many, and Anakin destroyed the Death Star, all in a couple of weeks. It's a fucking mess. That's Disney Star Wars for you. They said like the pre-Disney George Lucas era Star Wars EU was a mess. No, this shit is a mess. And mind you, I'm going to say this before we close. So a Force society viewing the Force in a different way is not a new concept. You have the fallen Nasi. You have the Dathomirian witches. You have the Angti monks. So you have those Force societies, and a great source book for that is Sith versus Jedi. The Force, the source book of the Force or whatever. I don't have so you know what I mean. So the Jedi versus the Sith, the Force companion book or whatever. So I highly recommend that, and it has all the different Force societies throughout time, the history of Star Wars. So I joke about the thread. I joke about that. It's funny. I think it's funny. But I don't use it as a counter to why it's horrible, because then someone who may know pre-Disney Star Wars can counter to me with, oh, well, what about the fallen Nasi, or what about the Angting monk, seen it as a rainbow or whatever. So be careful, be smart about how you counter with that kind of stuff. So, but I do laugh about the 1, 2, and many thread kind of thing. I think it's funny. I really do. I really think it's funny. It's a joke to me. And joke doesn't mean, it's blind bashing. You can make jokes out about a lot of things and laugh and stuff. I mean, you have to have a sense of humor and throughout all this shit. If you can't, then I feel fucking sorry for you. And that's even with the scissoring bit. If you can't have a fucking sense of humor, get a fucking life. Go outside and touch grass, right? I'm going to use the same tactic as these shills, right? Touch grass. Learn to laugh. Learn to not take everything serious. It's a fucking movie and our show, and making joke about it, about the show. So what? So what? Get a fucking life. Get a fucking humor. So Matthew says, I was watching Empire Strikes Back yesterday. Yesterday, Disney will never make a movie even close to that quality ever. I agree. And sorry, CJ, let's see here. I'll take Callista trilogy book over Filoni Star Wars. Yeah, that's interesting. My buddy Matt Wilkins loves Callista and the Callista trilogy. That's who he thinks that Luke should have married, is Callista. Diddley Squat says, why? What happened to Barris? A lot has happened to her since TCW. She was so ruined, and they continued that ruination. I've never seen the Star Wars holiday special. It's is it really that bad? There are some things, little bits and pieces that are good, but go judge it for yourself and come back and let me know. Have fun with it. The chat needs a Darth Toby emoji. Yeah, maybe, huh? And at $5.25 here. Howdy, question everything and don't believe everything you see. Correct. The griftosphere spreads misinformation as much as the mainstream media. Yes, there's a likeness between the two because these griftosphere people are sheeple, right? They follow the media just like those back in the PT era when media was the main source of getting your information and people jumped on the bandwagon to bash the PT. So same bullshit now on a larger scale because we're more open to social media and stuff like that. Agree. Thank you so much for that. Let me see. I hardly get into the habit of playing something here, but let's do something here for you. A bit of Lando Calrissian there for you. Thank you so much. I appreciate. So we're going to start closing down the show here so I can attend my training. Okay, let's see. It's online. Thank goodness I don't have to leave. I can just go get something to eat and settle in and probably in my yoga studio so that if we're moving, then I have space. Diddley says, oh, because she got de-aged, right? There's more to that. There's a lot more to that. And let's see here. Booty yoga. You just love that. It's hilarious. Yes. Howdy. Did you receive the mail? Yes, I did. I'm going to share it both here on the community page and on Twitter community page. Thank you so much. I just haven't had a chance to go over and fully pull it up. But I did get the notification. So thank you so much. Let's see here. Luke destroyed the Death Star, not Anakin. The Callisto trilogy is good except for Darksaber. That might be the one of the worst books, along with Crystal Star and Black Fleet Crisis. I think Black Fleet Crisis is underrated, but that's me. So, but like I said, we all have our favorites, and then we all have those we don't like, and it's all differing per fan, and it's okay. Get your books here. Let's see here. Scissors. the scissor fist clan. Remember that from when I was reading the clans for the Dathomirian witches in original lore? That's fucking hilarious. Maybe that's who they are on Acolyte, the scissor fist clan. Sorry, I had to go there. See, if you can't joke about this shit, then what the hell, people need a sense of humor. Finished my Wookiee Light review. I'm attacking the broken Zabrak lore, the plagiarism of the Dark Jedi Exiles, etc. I can't wait to see that. I will share. So you guys go over there and subscribe to Star Wars Marvel Purists. The Scissor Fist Clan. Yes, I'm not bullshitting you guys. Okay, let's see here. And yes, you guys with the scissors. Corellian Trilogy is a mixed bag. I always hated how Mara was written out as out of character. I also think that Jedi Academy Trilogy is underrated, but people tell me they don't like Kevin J. Anderson. It's funny how you think that Jedi Academy Trilogy, I think, gets a lot of praise. So I guess it depends on who you talk with in your own sphere of Star Wars, where you live at and stuff. But I've always seen so many people give Jedi Academy Trilogy such good praise. Carrie Fisher singing The Chef's Kiss. All right, you guys. It is time to start closing out now. Thank you guys so much. I need to go feed myself because I didn't do that just yet, but I'm not hangry or anything. It's all good. And my day is full today, and tomorrow's Father's Day. So everybody who is a father, happy Father's Day to you. Have fun with your family. You fathers are so valuable to the development of our kids, along with the mothers. Having both a mother and father is beneficial, coming from a person who hardly had a father in her life. just on and off. When I had the opportunity, there was, it felt so wonderful. Kids feel so fulfilled because they have that fatherly, that matriarch, not matriarch, patriarch influence as well. And it's crucial. It's beneficial. There's so much to learn from our fathers, right? Good, bad, and the ugly. Mine had more ugliness than anything else. And so I'm speaking from experience. So if you still have your father in your life and you're on good standings, go celebrate. They are some awesome people, giving of themselves and their time, all of that. Excuse me, getting all choked up now. But anyways, so coming from experience, yes, fathers are amazing. And if you still have yours in your life and you guys are in good standings, celebrate the fuck out of them. And I mean that in a good way, not a bad way. So I even read some books that they somehow write Ahsoka better than Dave himself. That's kind of funny. Dave is not a good creator. Luke won the Bunta Eve race. Come on, chat now. Your lore. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, OG. Good fathers try their best. It could be worse that they could be Darth Vader. You know what I'm meaning. You know what I mean. The only party feel like was weak was X, or the part. The only part feel like was weak was XR Kun being in it. Okay, so the XR Kun one. Okay, I like that. I like that story. I liked how they opened up how Sith can have an afterlife, but more spirit, and how they were attached to a certain place and stuff. So I like that whole development there. We need to talk about Sith spirits on CAF Chat sometime in the future. Ooh. XR cunt. And we're going to leave it here. You guys have a great day. May the force be with you. I will see you next week on CAF Chat. We'll go over continuing lore on Asherad Hetz. So be here for that. So it is going into now who he is as Darth Krayt. So of course, those who love Darth Talon will probably see more images of her and a little bit more expansion on her per the story and XR Kun. So thank you guys again. And may the force be with you. Oh, yes. And the spacing. See you there next Friday on the spacing as well. You guys are all amazing. Stay on top of everything on your George Lucas era Star Wars, and never give these Disney Star Wars fans a break. So you guys have a good day, and I shall talk with you guys later.
Another happy landing.
Jedi is something that came a little later. When we started building Jedis, we had a lot of Jedis, and we needed more and more Jedis. As we were doing them toward the end, we ended up with a lot of Jedis that looked like people that worked at ILM, with these short little haircuts and looked like they stepped out from behind a computer. And so I was saying we have to get more exotic Jedis, and so we only have so much resources to do these things with, but I do have Twi'leks because we use them quite a bit in other areas in the Senate and as background action. So I have a sort of a wardrobe and a setup of certain kinds of characters. So it was a way of reinventing some of those characters. And I had realized that we had a comic book that has a Twi'lek in it that is a Jedi. There's a whole series actually of her. And I said, well, why don't we put her in this? I mean, she's a comic character, but we'll just fit her in and have her be a background character because that's exotic. That's how the Twi'lek Jedi ended up in the backgrounds of these shots, was to try to use some of the work and effort that the guys in the comic book world had put into things and characters they had created.